Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining Vyde and the Wealth Factory for today's webinar, How to Build and Live a Legacy That Lasts. At Vyde, our mission is simple but powerful, to help small business owners connect with the financial tools, knowledge, and resources they need to thrive. We know that true financial success isn't about what you earn today, it's about building stability, opportunity, and freedom for the future. That's why we're excited to bring you this session on building real generational wealth. Wealth that empowers your family, aligns with your values, and continues to grow long after you're gone. We're honored to be joined by Derek Larson from our wonderful partners at the Wealth Factory. Derek is a coach, entrepreneur, investor, and dedicated family man who brings over 15 years of experience helping individuals unlock their potential and achieve meaningful financial and personal growth. Derek has guided countless entrepreneurs through the process of building wealth strategically and intentionally, and today he's here to share the principles, mindset, and practical steps that help you do the same. This webinar is part of Vyde's ongoing commitment to providing valuable education and partnerships that move our members and all small business owners closer to lasting financial freedom. So with that, let's get started. Please join me in welcoming Derek Larson.
Thank you, Danielle. It's quite the privilege I have to be here today. And thank you for those of you who are part of the Vyde family in joining us for this presentation today. Very excited to get to share this with you. It's a passion of mine. And of course, getting to work with Danielle and her team is a unique thing. So welcome all. Hopefully you're all enjoying the fall. I know that I am. The incredible colors outside, at least those of you that are here in Utah, always stunning. And it's a real privilege that I have to live in this great state. Anyways, what I want to share with you guys today, and before I do that though, I always of course have to hop in and read our legal disclaimer in helping you understand that Wealth Factory, we are not attorneys, financial advisors, or tax professionals. We leave the tax professionals to Vyde. We are not registered agents or any other type of licensed professional. So the information that we are providing to you in this presentation is for educational purposes only and should not be construed as professional advice. So this presentation does not promise or guarantee any specific financial results, returns, or any specific outcomes. Any decisions that you make are based on the information provided or at your own risk, and we are not solely held responsible for any financial loss that may incur. So of course, we always encourage you to consult with qualified professionals before taking any specific financial, legal, or tax-related decisions. So definitely want to get you on that road. So, well, one of the reasons that we're here today in helping you understand Wealth Factory and understand even me as an individual is to start with understanding fixed and growth mindsets. Many of you who own businesses or participate in really growth, individual finance, understand the importance of fixed versus growth mindset. So a neat quote that I have here: if not now, when? If not here, where? If not me, who? Right? Very simple questions, which really gets down to the point that we each are ready to take the next step. And I hope today you'll find something inspirational for you, something that you individually can do to take the next best step for you. And that's the invitation, of course, that I lead to each of you. But I wanted to start with that. Something that's passionate when it comes to Wealth Factory, me individually, is mindset, right? So I'm going to take us through this just for a minute, and I want to ask yourself, where do you find yourself currently on your individual mindset? And so we have the left side here, which is the fixed mindset, the right side here, which is growth mindset. The purpose of this exercise is to really understand where you are in your individual journey and where you want to be moving forward, right? So we kind of look at this in terms of how you show up, right? When it comes to challenges, when you look at challenges, do you shun away or do you embrace, right? A lot of people will look at this as change. Like, what is the next best thing for you? Well, what about obstacles? Those that are in the fixed mindset, they'll see an obstacle as a sign. Oh, this isn't for me. I'm going to give up right here and now, right? Those that are in the growth mindset see this as a stepping stone and an opportunity to get stronger and take really the next step into their journey. As we all know, obstacles are part of life, but how we choose to face those obstacles really is determinant on what kind of mindset that we're in. Well, what about effort, right? Effort is a good thing. Effort is really what's required of all of us, not only to get what we want, but to really understand and move forward and acquire the results that we're seeking. So when you're in a fixed mindset, you want to look for things that are easy. You want to take shortcuts. You don't really want to give the effort that's required for that ultimate reward. That can be very much a fixed mindset. Whereas when you look at growth, right, the growth mindset, you see effort as the path to mastery. I am going to get good at what I'm doing, and I'm going to put more effort and more effort and more effort. Any of these individuals that are masters of success, they've got these great companies. It's not just built on circumstance. It's not a matter of luck. They just happen to fall in that way. They put themselves on the table. They put their talents on the table, and they put their effort moving forward. So again, where are you in terms of your mindset? Well, what about criticism? How do you face criticism, right? Do you find yourself lingering? Do you find yourself being offended? Or are you more looking at feedback is a gift? For me, feedback is a precious gift. People may have opinions. People have different reigns of thought. People have different experiences than I do. Well, they're going to come to me and they're going to say, well, I think this, I think that, or I feel this, I feel that. For you, it's okay, that's fantastic view. Help me understand the way you do. What is it that you're seeing, right? In that case, hopefully they're open to the opposite and you sharing with them. But criticism ultimately is a part of life. And I look at criticism as feedback, and feedback for me is a gift, right? The growth mindset mode. Without feedback, how can we know how to change? How can we know how to get better? And that's important. Well, how do you see others when it comes to their success? How do you feel about that, right? Is there jealousy, or do you feel excited for them, right? So as you're thinking and as we go through kind of this presentation today, ask yourself, where am I being held back? Right? Are there limiting beliefs in my past, or is there mental things, blockages that I'm currently having right now to help me move forward? I got to tell you, we can definitely get past all of those things as we learn, we grow, and ultimately challenge ourselves to think differently than we currently are. Not to sacrifice values, not to sacrifice virtue, but look at the world with different eyes. Growth, right? So I invite you to have a growth mindset today as we learn even more. But ultimately, results are driven by those individuals that want to grow and are willing to grow and willing to provide that value. So today's presentation is primarily going to be focused on the importance of generational wealth, right? When you look at wealth and you look at legacy, how do you define that? Think about that for a minute. What is wealth to you? How do you define wealth? A lot of people will maybe first think of mansions, right? Lots of food, cars, travel, these kinds of things. Well, that may be a manifestation of wealth, but what is true wealth to you, right? Is it financial independence? Is it health? Is it love? What is wealth to you? I look at my own individual situation, and I will at times be pondering and really consider myself one of the wealthiest men on the earth. And it's not because I have all the money in the world, quite the opposite. I strive every day to support my family. But what is it that brings wealth home to me? Well, it's the fact that I've found myself inside of values, inside of family, inside of a position where I feel like I can help those around me, right? Not just maybe monetary means, but I'm healthy, I'm strong, I have the capacity to show up for myself, show up for others. That, in my definition, is wealth. But what's wealth for you? And how do you want to pass that wealth on to the next generation, right? To your beneficiaries, or leave a lasting impact on the world around you. So part of understanding wealth kind of in a larger perspective is looking at your own individual financial security, right? Where are you right now? Are you finding yourself in financial stress? Are you able to expand? What about educational opportunities? Are you seizing the opportunities that you have? Are you seeking for additional opportunities for education, right? What about business ventures? Is it consistently closed doors for you, or are you finding additional doors every single day, new opportunities, new growth? And then what ultimately do you want to leave behind in the world? What kind of charitable impact do you want to leave? Now, these are different ways of looking at wealth, right? But for the importance of generational wealth, These are kind of how I'm looking to define these today, and how you can build your future. So hopefully that's ringing true to you. So how ultimately can Wealth Factory, as an incredible organization that I'm proud to be a part of, impact your generational wealth, impact you on a financial, personal, business scale? So these are the foundational elements that we here at Wealth Factory focus on, hyper focus on, to help you take your journey, your wealth journey, to the next level. So tax strategies. Of course, we've got Back Pocket Vyde. These people are here to help you in that process. We have risk management and asset protection, right? Where do you have holes? You work so hard to build up your wealth your whole life, but risks happen. Death, sickness, financial loss, disaster, right? These things strike. It can ultimately wipe your slate clean if you don't have the proper risk and asset protection in mind, right? What about your cash flow optimization? When was the last time you hopped on and looked at your individual income statements and balance sheets to truly understand where you are as a financial, in terms of your financial picture? Are you draining? Are you paycheck to paycheck? Or do you have money coming in? And what do you do to optimize it? How do you get it to the next level, really? And that next brings to the point of maximized investments. So money moved to make money is huge. I had the privilege of investing in real estate now for some time, and I had a gentleman who presented the most incredible idea to me that I had not thought of before. We really live in a consumeristic society, but he said this: one of the best things you can do is to build wealth, create it, invest it, and then let your investments buy the things you need. So instead of me buying a nice car with just straight up cash, I'm going to go buy an investment, such as say real estate, because that's what I'm in. And that real estate now cash flows and pays the loan on my car that I just purchased. Now I'm not buying my car, my investment is, right? So the capacity for you to really get your investments moving for you. And then, of course, bringing that all together in a sum, which is kind of the tip we're going to touch on today, and that's wealth preservation. How ultimately do you take the wealth that you've built and keep it safe and move it into the next generation, with hopefully not Uncle Sam taking a good chunk of it, right? We're going to do everything we can to help mitigate, to help grow, to help strengthen, to help protect. And that's really the focus that we have here at Wealth Factory. So, well, how do we do all of that? How is it? Well, me as one individual, I do not have the capacity to tell you, nor could I, of all of these things. So we have a coordinated team approach, which is a neat way of us saying we have individuals like myself who function as a wealth architect here at Wealth Factory to educate, to help you build strategy and then ultimately optimize. But on top of that, as I'm not a professional and can't advise you in any of these specific areas, we have a curated team of professionals, as well as other wealth architects here at Wealth Factory, that will be in the best way that we can, the experts to help you with the cutting edge knowledge, cutting edge tools, and really the experience to take your wealth journey to the next level. So we have a powerful team that's able to do that. I want to start with a kind of a this versus that scenario. Okay, a lot of us look in history, a lot of us look in the past. I even want you to be thinking to yourself, if you have grandparents or parents that have passed away, how well was their wealth set up for transfer? Okay. Did it all fall into probate? Was there infighting in the family? You know, was there ultimately the wealth completely collapsed because it wasn't properly protected, wasn't properly structured for that passing on to the next generation? Well, I'm going to give you guys a little history lesson here. If any of you know who the Vanderbilts are, okay, we're going to do kind of the Vanderbilt versus the Rockefeller and how ultimately they chose to manage their wealth long term. And where are they now, right? So looking at the Vanderbilts, for example, you have Cornelius Vanderbilt, born in 1794, right? He had the nickname the Commodore, and he built his fortune in shipping and railroads, worth over what would look like today $200 billion he had amassed in his growth at the time of his death. Okay. He left primarily all of his wealth to one son, his son William Vanderbilt, who, through some incredible feat of his own, doubled that wealth again within 10 years. So, sensational story. However, within 50 years of Cornelius's death, the fortune was gone. Everything they built had just completely vanished. By the 1970s, the Vanderbilt family had basically held no significant wealth. And by 1973, not one of Vanderbilt's descendants was a millionaire. Something to ponder on, right? What happened? Well, despite all that they did, they built massive mansions, right? And they lacked financial education for their heirs. They never really truly had a unified family vision. And it wasn't so much about stewardship as it was about lavish living, right? Major problem. And they just didn't have the continuity structures in place that they needed, like trusts, like governance, like potentially a family bank. Well, what is the lesson that can be learned here, right? They focused on spending and status, not stewardship nor sustainability. Wealth was seen as a personal consumption and not as a tool for generational and even worldwide impact. That's the Vanderbilts, right? Definitely something that ultimately didn't lead to success for them. Well, let's look on the flip side. Rockefellers. Okay, the Rockefellers. Well, John D. Rockefeller, born in 1893, he was a founder of Standard Oil. At his peak, he himself was worth around $400 billion in today's dollars. Okay, even more than the Vanderbilts had amassed. But his approach was to wealth was a structured, disciplined, and a purposeful approach. He established family trusts, had charitable foundations, and ultimately a family office to help manage his wealth across multiple generations. Huge. Well, what kind of family governance? He instituted regular family meetings. He shared his vision, right? His mission for his wealth. And this is the big one. He educated and prepared his heirs on his values, his money, his philosophy. I like to compare this to like a king of a kingdom, right? And you've got his prince and princesses. Well, he had a kingdom and he'd amassed a big one. Now, whether or not you have a kingdom in the terms of billions of dollars, it makes no difference. The point we're making here is how you can leave what you've built to the next generation and watch it continue to build. So as a king would prepare his princes and princesses, through all series of education, all series of upbringing, we too are tasked with that same responsibility in structured, disciplined, purposeful education, right? And ultimately, that's how he did it. We'll talk a little bit more about how he did that long term. But he taught his children ultimately that wealth carries responsibility, not entitlement. Now, let me ask you all, where do we see society today? Are we a society of responsibility or a society of entitlement? I'll leave that judgment to you. But what and how can we make the individual judgment? If we fall to an entitlement society, who in their right mind would ever want to get up off the couch and do anything productive? Whereas we as responsible human beings want to build society so we can have the opportunities moving forward. One of the main things that John D. Rockefeller did was he ultimately created a family constitution that outlined the principles for stewardship, faith, education, and contribution. And he had, and basically looking right now, 7 generations later, okay, the Rockefeller family still has wealth across hundreds of descendants. He has a recognizable name that's tied to philanthropy, education, and business. And his family is involved in managing their investments. I mean, you've got the Rockefeller Capital Management, Rockefeller Foundation. Some of you may have heard of these things before. Well, what's the ultimate lesson that we can learn here? The Rockefellers focused on legacy, governance, education, right? Turning a multi-generational tool, basically all that they built, into something that has impacted them 100 years after they passed. Huge, right? So this is something to be thinking about. So a few ideas I want to leave in your mind, right? You can't leave your children what you don't teach them. You can't leave your benefactors. You can't leave the impact on society if you yourself aren't teaching them. If you expect all those around you to teach your children, you're going to get just that, what they are teaching them, not what you want to leave them. Legacy isn't just about what you leave behind, but who you leave behind. Okay. Rockefeller's system was essentially one of the earliest family bank models. Money got pooled, it was governed, and it was used for productive and philanthropic ventures. This is, according to the Rockefellers, and what I could deem too, a definition of wealth. This is a family of wealth principle, right? The Vanderbilt story was the perfect warning. Wealth without structure breeds destruction. Any of us have seen, stories and watched films where someone gets a bunch of money dropped on them, and what happens, right? Sad. One thing I'd like to everyone to think about, if anyone's ever watched it, there's a film came out in 2007 called The Ultimate Gift. And if you've never watched it, it's fantastic. Totally recommend it. You can watch it for free on Amazon Prime. But the premise of this film is you've got a wealthy grandfather who's passed away, who's leaving his grandson the business. But his grandson's a drunk. The grandson's, basically his life is just in shambles. But the grandfather knows his capacity, knows his potential. And through the film, you'll watch, the deceased grandfather through a trust, through a will, through the systems that he's built, take his grandson through a series of processes to build him up to what he wants to do. Now, there's another lesson in this. Should the grandfather, the father, had more impact on the grandson? Probably. But better late than maybe never in this scenario. He helped this grandson ultimately attain the ultimate gift at the end. Not going to spoil the movie with you, but it's fantastic. Recommend to watch. Totally family friendly as well, and might be a tearjerker, but still a great one. Anyways, understanding long term, these two histories can really share some detail into the past. Where do you find yourself right now? Building wealth without structure, or building wealth with a plan? Building wealth with purpose. Those without structure are going to have their wealth built. They're going to have entitled children, and they're just waiting for you to take your last breath so they can take it and run with it, right? Or do we have children that are ultimately being led up, right? The next generation, are they being led up? So something to consider. Awesome. That, man, just so impactful, that thought. One thing I want you to be thinking about, okay, is how do you, again, build and live a legacy that lasts? What do you have in mind for yourself to start, and then your children, your grandchildren, to ultimately help to bring them to the happy and productive lives that we want them to have, right? That abundance that they're seeking for. We don't want them to squander. We want them to really take it to the next level. So start asking yourself some questions. What ultimately does legacy mean to you? What is this legacy? Everyone talks about it, legacy planning. What does that mean, right? Start on that path of discovery. Do you currently have any written values, vision, or education system around finances? Do you have these things, right? For you and for your family? Or is it just the consistent pursuit of money? I think all of us can agree that money is a tool, shouldn't be a means to an end, right? None of us should be completely satisfied laying on a pile of cash in some mansion somewhere to next answer the question, well, what's next? What does that mean for me? I, for one, that's certainly not my desire. I'm a father of 6 children and absolutely love them to pieces. My ultimate goal, beyond residing and providing and protecting them, is to simply say, what do I do next so that they can continue to leave a lasting impact? And to get personal for a minute, as a parent, I fully believe that we are in a societal predicament today because far too many parents, far too many individuals have been lackluster in their preparation of the next generation. And this is what we're now left with. So how can we choose to build, not just financially, right, but values, a system, education, finances, right? That's what this is all about, really leaving this long-lasting impact. So what are you currently doing right now, or what can you start to build your individual legacy? What does that look like for you? Well, I want to take you through a few steps that we incorporate here at Wealth Factory to help you build that legacy. And the first step we're going to look into is what we call cash flow banking. Okay. Um, some of you have probably heard of this concept, cash flow banking. Really, you're utilizing life insurance security with that can turn it into personalized banking that will offer long-term stable growth, also while maintaining liquidity and control. And again, I could go on for hours, some of the incredible benefits that you can find in this strategy, but understanding how you can turn investment, how you can turn life insurance, how you can turn your eventual trust into a family bank that people can tap into, your benefactors can tap into, your children, right? The different tax advantages, looking at ultimately constructing that family bank. So one simple step that we get started with is cash flow banking. Step number two is the family trust. So again, huge. Where are we going? What do we want to accomplish? How do we want to protect our assets? Right? There are different kinds of trust that we can get into. But it's good to understand that a trust is one of the perfect places that you can ultimately build your wealth and prepare it for the next generation. So some wonderful ideas that are listed here, things like, and how can the trust be utilized? Educational pursuits, entrepreneurial ventures, charitable impact, healthcare and well-being, emergency funds. Okay. What about seed capital for investments, emergency, family support, retirement, individual personal goals? All of these are one simple way of saying, wow, if I could leave that for the generations now and the generations to come and teaching them and preparing them for these things, what if your generations that come next can spend their time learning, growing, and becoming, and less at sitting at a desk, less at doing the numb-drum things that are required by so many. But wealth is built for them to find what it means to leave an impact. Just incredible, incredible. Just some interesting thoughts. For them, a job. For them, a career. For them, a hobby is something that they choose to do. It's not forced upon them, right? But with that comes a lot of responsibility. So family trusts are going to be, our one key. Step three in building out this long-time legacy plan is a family constitution. So we all understand, or at least hopefully all of us have had an opportunity, to read the Declaration of Independence, to understand the initial concepts of the Constitution, the 10, the 10 rights that we have as individuals. But when you're looking at a family constitution, the really big question you have to ask yourself is, what are the principles that I stand on? What are my values? Far too many people in this world sell out, right? And economies fall, families crack, right? What is it that I'm willing to stand on? The difference that I'm willing to make, right? The family constitution is there to help you design a philosophy, to help you sculpt your vision, and to ultimately drive purpose so that you and your benefactors, your children, right now, not after you pass, right now, are building this kingdom together, right? Building this long-lasting legacy. So I absolutely love talking about the family constitution, is one of my absolute favorites. My family, we've also developed a family constitution, and we mention it very frequently in our family gatherings. It's very powerful for us. So the next step, what we're looking at here is a family retreat. When was the last time? Now, I'm not talking necessarily family reunions, which are very important, by the way. But when was the last time you got, and again, for those of you with younger children, this will look different than those of you with older children. But when was the last time you and your parents, if you're young, got together with your family and talked about the meaning behind your family, what your family represents, what your family is striving for, right? What specific values do you all hold together? When you're looking at legacy, part of that family legacy is leaving and growing and building up your children, up your benefactors to the point that when you do pass, they have what they need to continue successfully into the future. Well, can you put stipulations on a family trust in the Constitution that states you can only access this and utilize it, one, for the following purposes, and two, if you're still in alignment with the family values? Yes, you can, right? Let's empower those that care. Let's empower those that want to build legacy, not enable those that want to fall and bury them deeper with finances they otherwise can't manage, right? So thinking about that long term. Well, family retreat, what does this look like for you? You can create symbols. If you think of way back, like the Chinese, the Japanese, the Scottish, they had symbols, right? They had icons, they had tartans, they had these things that represented them as a family. And they would hold those banners up and it would inspire people to move forward. It would inspire them to hold on to those values. The other would be rituals. When we talk rituals, right? Well, what does your family do when they come together? You know, these things could be around building wealth, building your values, but ultimately things that you hold dear. And then building on that idea is traditions. What are your family traditions? You know, are they simple traditions that kind of follow the way of the world and don't really mean much to your individual virtues and lifestyle? Well, what traditions can we incorporate? What can we focus on, right? That really helps to build, and that's the fourth, and instill long term into the generations that are coming family values. You want to identify and emphasize the most important family values. And this is what the family retreat is, bringing everyone together, get everyone on the same page, getting them committed to these values so that they in turn can help you build wealth and sustain it for generations to come. So a big part. And the last point I want to mention is step 5, which is the family office. Okay. The Rockefellers didn't do it on their own, nor can really any of us. Unless you have the capacity to fill every single one of these roles on this list, we need help. I, for one, love to be a DIYer, like do it myself, figure it out, YouTube University, right? Like go. For what? For additional stress, not knowing if I did it right, saving money. Well, if I keep pouring all my time into something that could easily be done by a professional and done it, and they can do it much better than I can, I'm already one up, right? I've got to the point, and I think maybe some of you had too, that money might be more than you have. And right now you're trying to buy back your time because you're either doing one or the other. You're giving your time or you're giving your money. Where do you stand, right? In the case of constructing a family office, these are the individuals that can come to help you get your time back, grow your money, protect your money, and ultimately help you to sustain it with all the longevity as possible. So as you can see here on this list, these are a small fraction of ultimately who you need to have on your team now and in the future. If you're going to leave your wealth into the hands of the next generation, but the next generation isn't connected to the professionals you've been working with along the road or the businesses that you've been working with along the road, how ultimately can that wealth continue? It may very well fall apart and fracture. So having these individuals as part of your family process, your family office is going to be big, right? The neat thing about Wealth Factory is we can help you to construct that individual family office. Definitely a neat prospect. So, well, what is Wealth Factory? What do we do? We are here to help educate you, to help guide you, to help you ultimately optimize your wealth. And man, if you're looking to optimize other things, optimize your health, optimize your family, optimize your cash flow, we're going to be here to support you in that venture as well. But we're ultimately here to help and provide tools and resources so that you can ultimately reach economic independence, right? That definition of I am and have the capacity to care for myself and provide for my family. Big, right? And how to preserve that wealth long term. We want to develop with you a long term wealth preservation plan that will hopefully pass multiple generations, if not 100 years, right? Now, we may not be able to build you $1 billion empire like Rockefellers did, But we're going to take what you have now and hopefully in some impactful way, short term, and then grow it long term, make it to really what you see in your mind, that vision. We want to help you to expand on that, which I'm grateful for. Well, part of that in Wealth Factory means what? Well, we here have individuals, which I am one, called a wealth architect. Our ultimate role, our job, our privilege, because I can't tell you how many times I'll meet with the client, how many times I'll meet with an individual, and I will thank them for the privilege of being with them along their journey. I get to walk with them along their journey, and that is a privilege to me. But wealth architecture isn't just about every now and again talking with an advisor, but a wealth architect will help you by looking at the full scope, the full range of what you have, giving you the ideas, giving you the tools, being that accountability partner, what you need to take the next step in a very holistic way, right? So we're here to help you understand, develop a strategy, and give you the tools and hopefully the resources and professionals to execute that plan. That's what wealth architecture is all about, right? One of the ways we do that is we've got some incredible, well put together resources, one of which is a 144 strategic action plan, 144 specific steps and points that we help to walk you through to ensure that you are set up with an incredible foundation and are able to build and build and build, right? Foundation, strategy, optimize. That is what we're here for. And that's the purpose of a wealth architect. And as we do that, we want to understand you. What are your needs, right? We will get into your current personal priorities. What are they? What are your top goals right now? What is it that you're striving to accomplish, right? And understanding your definition and hopefully helping you with that definition. What does financial freedom look like for you? What is it that you're really attempting to create, right? What about your current business status and what's the next step for your business? Just getting started? Growing? Or are you about that point where you're ready to sell? We're here. We're here to assist you along that process. A couple of other thoughts: utilization of personal and business tax strategies. Working with great individuals like Vyde, who are a curated part of our team here at Wealth Factory, to help you build a tax strategy that makes sense for you, to make sure that you are optimized in your entity, right? Take advantage of the deductions and the various tax strategies that are available. But even going beyond that, helping you with asset protection. What are your current needs in different arenas? This is only a small portion of the things that we get into to ultimately look at holistic to say, okay, where are the holes? How can we plug them? And then how can we start building on that foundation? So something big. Well, being a part of our team, you're gonna get the best experience possible already, starting out with the 90-day wealth acceleration framework, wealth acceleration plan that's personalized for you, right? Being welcomed on board. We'll have regular sessions where we truly try and understand and build you a personalized wealth blueprint. And then, of course, educate, implement, optimize results. And then here you can see this wheel here. We don't necessarily start with legacy planning. And because it's personalized, you may jump in wherever you feel is the most important. What is the most important to you, right? And if you don't know that, if you don't know where your priorities are, we'll discover them and we'll get there. So really neat, the framework. Now, all of that being said, the wealth architect doesn't have all the answers. He's not the professional. He is there to spearhead, right? He's there to kind of quarterback everything that you're looking to accomplish, give you the ideas, help you implement where he can. And all of that, we help and guide you to what we call our curated professional network. Okay. And all of these, this is just a kind of a small list of all the individuals that are available within the Wealth Factory's curated network of professionals. Vyde being one of those when it comes to tax strategy and bookkeeper. You know, they were very kind to let us come and share with you what we have. Pretty awesome. So we are ready to help take your financial journey to the next level, and it's going to be awesome. So that being said, we've now come to the end. We will go ahead and jump into Q&A. I would invite each of you to scan this barcode here on the screen. Essentially, what we would love to do is have the opportunity to conduct a wealth strategy session with you, right? Begin to identify where you might have cash flow leaks, right? See, ultimately, in this case, Vyde can take care of this, but maybe there's something else looking to help you cut your tax bills. What about exploring powerful investment options, maybe things you haven't considered, how to really optimize? And then, of course, how we can assist you as one of the many things, apply that wealth building Rockefeller method strategy that we've really talked about. So it would be quite a neat opportunity that we'd have to take part in that with you. So, anyways, thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and jump into Q&A. All of you, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in our Q&A chat. I had a few questions that kind of came up as we were watching this presentation. And something that I can think of is, you know, many of us are small business owners or just starting out on our journey, right, of building wealth and what that looks like. And so, Derek, from your experience, when do you recommend someone starts to look at wealth architecture and starts investing in a strategy like this?
Yeah, that's a great question. Ultimately, wealth architecture is going to be for those individuals who are either into their journey, ending their journey, or just beginning. But I will say that wealth architecture is going to make the most sense for individuals that are in the process of either starting a new business, want to start a new business, or have a current business already in place. There's a lot we can do with individuals and families, but some of the bigger points in Wealth Factory are going to include strategizing, growing, and or exiting a business. So I would say that this is going to be the best fit for small to medium-sized entrepreneurs.
Great. And can you tell us a little bit about some of the successes you've seen with clients who you're currently working with?
Oh yeah, 100%. Well, to get back on your previous question and help you show how these clients have had success, we have individuals that will become members of the Wealth Factory, and they didn't have a business. I have several clients who are now owning businesses. They are now business owners. I've assisted them in starting new businesses, getting businesses off the ground, and are now business owners. And now they get to take advantage of even further tax help from great people like Vyde, right? And incorporating additional tax help because they are business owners. That's one in a few. We've got others who sometimes are in fact, I've got several clients who are just sitting on money and they're like, where do I go from here? Right? Now, we're not investment strategists by any, we're not investment pros by any sense of the word, but we get into it. Now, I have a big leaning towards real estate. Absolutely love it. So I do have some clients that ask, and a lot of questions about how to get in to different markets and how to, ultimately strategize. We've got other wealth professionals that can assist them in optimizing portfolios. We have several clients who, due to added tax assistance from great individuals like Vyde, have cleared up, have created additional money through tax savings, and then they'll take those funds, start their cash flow banking model, and then they'll get their legacy plan in place and already begin funding it, which is just it's incredible. We have other individuals who surprisingly are expert in their field of medicine, engineering, chiropractics, that went through all of it and are still struggling to manage their business because finances wasn't something that they necessarily focused on when they were getting their education, right? So we're here again to help provide in a lot of different ways. We have individuals that will utilize our credit services, help to build their credit from low 600s to high 700s. Multiple clients like that. We've got clients that are struggling to find additional leads. Well, we're going to hook you up with our AI integration team to help take your business to the next level with all the amazing tools that are out there. I've got several clients that are in the process of doing that. So, although I can't say every single client's going to have the same experience because they're definitely not, there is so much and such a good road that these clients can walk that there is something definitely there for them, for us to either take their individual scenario to the next level definitely help take their business potentially to the next level as well.
Great. And with that, there's kind of this two-part question that I have. First, I know you mentioned, over 100 points that people can focus on to, for this wealth architecture and to build more of their wealth. Um,
Oh,
I'd love to hear if there are top recommendations that usually come up for small business owners, what those recommendations or first steps usually are. And then for the second part of that question, how do you go about diving in with that individual and prioritizing what they most need and where they should focus?
oh, that's a fantastic question. We have a proprietary build out, if you will, construction called a financial scorecard. And this provides an opportunity for the individual to essentially enter a lot of their information, whether it's personal finance, where they are with their current insurance, where they might be in their legacy, um, family information that they want to share, where they are, every the background, all of this comes together to help us format the best financial structure for them. And inside that, we have something called the strategic roadmap, which you mentioned those 144 points. We guide them and track progress as we go, and we begin to see the results as time goes on. So every individual will have access to their own financial scorecard, right? Along with the myriad of educational resources that we also have available. Webinars like this of different presentations are also available. A community that they can connect with of other Wealth Factory members as well, which is really big. So I think that answers your question number two, and really what's available. We definitely have a user end experience that is awesome. That the wealth architect and the client can come together and begin to structure, track, build, math it out, right? If we need to, and that definitely happens. So your first question was around businesses and what are some of the key things that we look at when it comes to business? Well, first and foremost is business structure, right? Are they structured properly? Are they an S corp? Are they a C corp? Are they an LLC? Trying to really understand what their business model is and how they're functioning. Um, when we're looking at some of the key ways to help individuals within their business, it's understanding where are they at with their business vision, right? Do they have a vision and mission statement? And then we can conduct past reviews, not necessarily financial, because that's really when it comes to the overall financial picture of businesses, we want to leave that to the great tax professionals like yourself. But we look at and do SWOT analysis of where they're growing, what might be some of the difficulties. We can help them build out KPIs. If you know what those are, key performance indicators, critical drivers, things that really run the business. I mean, we can learn more about what EBITDA is and what that stands for. Other things that we can get into to help individuals within their business start looking at their leadership style, right? How are they showing up for their people? What steps are necessary to shift from operator to just owner? So if they want to be more passive, what does that look like? What is that roadmap, right? Really building out growth plans, how they're integrating and interfacing with their team, huddles, team reviews. What about company culture? I mean, there's a lot that goes into trying to understand how strong a business is. So very few of the things I got into, but hopefully that helps to see at least some of the preliminary things we can get into when helping someone with the business.
Exactly. And one of
Yeah.
the things that I love about the Wealth Factory is you guys look at the word wealth in every facet of its meaning, right? And you
Mhm.
can tailor that to the individual. Is wealth for someone really about more financial security and more money? Is it more
Yeah.
about that time and receiving that back? Is it more about, future generations and making sure they're protected and have some of those things? So it's nice that really can be defined around the individual and what they're looking for. Um, and that
Exactly.
they can have that advocate there with them, because I know it's a lot.
It is. It is a lot.
Owning a business, trying to, keep everything afloat on your own. So it's great to have advocates and coaches along the way.
I mean, I like to think of myself as a business owner's best friend, right? And they've got, and of course, I don't have the answers to all things. I always will say that, but we're here. We want to help you develop plans. We want to bounce the ideas. We want to see where you are, not just business. We focus pretty heavily on business, but as an individual, right? This is going to be an individual's journey whose whose business they just happen to be fully invested in. They're invested in their business. They want help along that route. Businesses are full of individuals. And if those individuals aren't strengthened, if those individuals don't have the help that they need, the business falls apart. Businesses should be in the business of building people, not just building products. If we can build people, then we are successful in our business, right? So that's what our business is all about here at Wealth Factory, is building people. Yeah.
Well, wonderful. And thank you so much, Derek, for sharing your time and experience with us today. It looks like that was the end of our questions.
Okay.
So I just wanted to thank you everyone for joining us for this webinar today, especially thank you, Derek and the Wealth Factory, for sharing some of this educational material. At Vyde, we believe that when small business owners have access to the right financial education and resources, they don't just grow their businesses, they do build stronger futures for themselves, their families, and their communities. So we hope today's discussion inspired you to take the next step toward building lasting wealth and legacy. Stay tuned for future educational events and webinars with Vyde and, of course, our partners. Thanks again for spending time with us today, and we look forward to connecting with you again soon.
Yeah. It's our privilege. Thank you again, Danielle. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Derek, and thank you again, everyone, for joining us.